to parties to get the buzz, and it has had some disastrous results, hasn't it?
Yes, and we've a lot of these mass killings that we've seen, whether it be at Aurora, Colorado, there's some hints that it might have even happened in Connecticut recently, that there were mind-altering medications that changed the way people think, and they didn't think well, so they couldn't make good decisions. The front part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system, the stress become unbalanced, and all of a sudden these individuals can't make rational decisions, and they snap and they do crazy stuff. But we're seeing that in younger and younger people. They want to escape from reality, so they're turning to actually medicines they get from their doctors, and the doctors keep filling it. Some people are getting it off the market. You can even order some of these on the internet now. So we really have an epidemic here.
Is there any agency? I should know this probably, but maybe I will when you name them. On a state level, for instance, that regulates. Is there anybody that's looking at the doctor's prescription charts?
Yes. Nowadays, it's become such a problem that certain states have a regulatory board. In the state of Tennessee now, they're starting to say, listen, we do have a big problem. We need to, when we see this such a rampant problem, we have these agencies that are starting to police, and now pharmacies are required to report it to the government, the state governments, where they keep track of the narcotics that are given out. They keep track of the prescriptions that are written by individual prescribers. If insurance is involved, they can also begin to track these individuals as they go from pharmacy to pharmacy. So yes, they're starting, but it's just in the early stages right now of tracking all this.
Let me ask you about something, too, that you mentioned in your book. Cancer, we see, we all know somebody who's had cancer or even passed away of cancer or whatever. If you just go out and, talk to friends and family and neighbors and something, inevitably this will come up. Oh, why we're getting so much cancer today? Well, they're shooting up those chickens. The steroids, or the beef we get has steroids in them, or so there's so much artificial stuff out there in our food supply. That's why there's so much more cancer. I don't even know if that's true or not. So I don't know. That makes maybe sense to me. Doesn't stop me. I still go to KFC.
Right.
But I'm asking you, or either I go to the steakhouse. But I'm asking you, do you believe that? Do you believe that stuff?
Well, if you think about it,
And how do you prove it? How do you prove it if you do believe
it? Cancer is in genes, okay? And certain genes become activated. And we know already, the science is behind us, that certain genes can be activated by cigarettes. We know that people that smoke cigarettes have a higher propensity, if they're prolonged exposure to that, to turn those genes on to form cancer. We know that prolonged exposure to sunlight, for instance, prolonged exposure too much can damage your skin and cause skin cancers. We know that, for instance, prolonged exposures to estrogen in women, that raises the chance of them getting breast cancer. Carrying extra weight makes you estrogenic. So we know that the more weight you cover, it makes you more prone to get breast cancer. We also know that people that eat high fat, high protein, high animal diets have a higher tendency to get colon cancer.
That's true? That's provable?
Yes, that's all provable. So what we want to do, though, is we want to screen at early stages, so people can find out ahead of time if they're going to be at risk for these things, talk about their family history, get their screening colonoscopies, get their screening mammograms. So if they are prone to turn on these genes from different things in their environment, they can lower their risks.
What about the food? Is that too controversial?
Well, no, food is not controversial. There's a great video out right now called Forks Over Knives by T. Colin Campbell, who wrote the China study, and in that he made a correlation to people that eat the American diet, which is high in fat and high in protein, compared with others around the world that ate more of a fruit and vegetables and grain diet, and they did much better in the developing of cancer. Especially prostate cancer seems to be linked by some of the high-protein diets we have in the Western world.
Well, you're listening to Today's Issues. I'm Jim alongside Tim. Our guest is Dr. James L. Marcum, and we're talking about his book, Medicines That Kill, and the subtitle is The Truth About the Hidden Epidemic. Dr. Marcum, we're coming up towards the end of the show, and I do want to bring out that you're looking at this from a Christian's perspective, and you say you give your patients biblical technology. Tell us a little about that as we begin to wrap up.
Well, we want to meet people where they're at. We want to love them and not judge them. And everyone comes with a different health situation. So I try to get people back to the way God made us originally. God wants us to be happy. God wants us to have rest. Work 6 days, take a day off, rest at night. God wants us to, work on drinking more water and less of everything else. God wants us to be outside, taking care of the world, serving each other, loving each other, to eat healthy foods. In the Garden of Eden, lots of fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains. In Daniel, he ate lots of vegetables and water. And as we move back towards this environment that God originally created, it actually changes our chemistry, and we can prove it. Also, what I've been really interested in recently is in the brain, how the brain is such a vital thing to your chemistry. If you're optimistic, we know now that worship is actually a treatment for many disease. I'm working with a doctor at the University of Pennsylvania that shows when we worship, there's a part of the brain called the anterior cingulate that gets larger that turns down all this stress hormones. So when you're happy, when you're out playing golf outside, that's actually a treatment for your body. When you worship, these are actually treatments for our body. When we commune with God, and now we're able to prove it chemically that these things that God taught us all along are true. So science is, again, proving that the Bible is true.
The book is called Medicines That Kill, The Truth About the Hidden Epidemic. Our guest is the author, Dr. James L. Marcum, M-A-R-C-U-M. Thank you, Dr. Marcum, for your time. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much, Bill and Tim.
Okay. All right, Jim and Tim.
That's okay.
That's right. He probably needs to take some medicine to stimulate his brain so that he will remember your name, Jim. What do you think about that? I'm only kidding, people. Don't send me emails, okay? I'm only
kidding. Coming up next hour, Oh America, Derek G. Jeter.
We'll be back. You can get us on the web if you can't get us on the radio, afr.net.